Good morning everybody, and a very warm welcome to Midenhall and Vollmer. And today is a rolling stock update and a mini layout update and a thank you and a new Loco. So there's a lot to get through, and it involves skips, sheds and hoovers. And if you don't know what that means, just stay tuned and I will enlighten you. So today, and first of all, we're going to start off with the skips. And we have two of them running around on my layout. And basically, for those of you who don't know, that many locos have nicknames. And basically, skips is the nickname for the class 67. And I have two 67s running on my layout. One of them you have seen, and the other one is brand new. This is thanks to Alan at Dragon Junction. So Alan at Dragon Junction, many moons ago, as many of you will know, has kindly given me a lot of things over the years, including my Horby Elite, which is just sitting there. Incidentally, that isn't actually what's powering the layout. It's actually my Gauge Master Prodigy Express, which is still running around. Lovely. And those coaches you can see sort of running in the background, those are the coaches that Alan also gave me, minus the kitchen one, which I bought separately, which is the one with the dark grey roof. And in today's modern railway, rail tours and things is a big part of life, really. You know, it's quite a big thing these days. It's really getting promoted. And there's various rail companies promoting their rail tours, and one of them is the Pullman. And so I decided to buy myself a Pullman class 67, and the R number for this is R3774, and this is the Pullman class 67 DB Schenker. So, and it's 67024. Now, incidentally, they do run this usually in the real world as a top and tail, and you can buy 67021 as part of a train pack, and it comes with two coaches. Or is it free? I think it's either two or three coaches. I think it's actually free. And basically, it's a lovely set. It really is a lovely set. Now, I already had these coaches. Alan had kindly given me four, and I had purchased another one. And there she comes into shot now. I'll stop her briefly to have a closer look at it. And the other one, as you can see rolling past, is my Arriva class 67, 67003, which still exists today, and that is also used on rail tours as well. And the thing is, with the class 67, it's kind of like it really is a mixed traffic locomotive, and it does all sorts. It really does. It does network rail stuff. It does the Queen's train. It does do freight workings. It does do network rail workings, and it does also do rail tours and things. So it really is a mixed freight locomotive, and I actually love it. Actually, I have three of them. Two of them are on the layout, and my other one is an EWS 67. So we'll have a little closer look at the Pullman, and also I want to show you a closer look at the Arriva one as well, because I want to show you a slight thing that I've done to that. I'll show you that briefly. So stay tuned, and I will just stop the Pullman, and you can have a look at it in closer detail. So here is my class 67 Pullman, and it's an absolute beautiful locomotive actually. I actually think that Horby did a fantastic job on these class 67s, and they run really well. They've got a really great weight to them, and I'm just really super impressed by the way they've captured the 67. As you can see on the front here, there isn't a valance. I haven't done put the valance on yet, because obviously at the moment I'm still using the tension lock couplings to run around the train and thing. But I am thinking of, I've already done and put the valance on the other 67, which I'll show you shortly, and it looks really, really effective. So what I'm thinking of doing is I might very well do the same to this, because I actually think it looks really, really much more finished with the valance than without it, and without the tension lock coupling. But it's absolutely a really, really smart, sleek, elegant locomotive. And I'm just going to run her through with Alan's coaches. And it's actually got 5 coaches on here at the moment. The one with the lighting on the coach and with the dark grey roof, that's the one that I purchased as an additional one, which is the kitchen coach, which is just coming into view now. If I just stop that there you go. So this is the one that I purchased additionally to go with the set. I was looking at trying to see if I can get a Mark 1 baggage car for it as well, but they don't seem to do it. But maybe Hornby may bring it out at some point, or whether I could convert an existing Mark 1 coach to go with it. I am very tempted to get the set and have it as a top and tail prestige Pullman, as I don't actually have the blue Pullman. The blue Pullman I really, really wanted. I've wanted that for a long time, but I don't actually have that. But this could well be my prestige kind of rail tour locomotive set, so I might very well do it at some point. So we'll just carry on as she goes through. So thank you once again to Alan for his coaches that he kindly gave me. So just coming into shop now is my Class 67 in the Arriva colours. And I actually really, really like this locomotive. Although I don't have my Arriva set anymore, this particular 67 still runs today. And like I said, it does still run on network rail trains, and it still runs on rail tours. And recently I fitted the valance on the front of the locomotive, as you can see, which is right just down the bottom there, and it looks so much more finished than when it doesn't have it on. I think it's absolutely like so much better looking now it's got the valance on it. I also had a good speaker in it, and it had a Zimo speaker in it, and I took that speaker out. I've put it with a standard speaker because I wanted to put that speaker that was in this 67 into my Class 158 because I saw what John Warner had done, and I started to attempt to try and remove the body off the GWR 158 to improve the sound on it. However, that being said, that was not as easy as said than done, and I decided to leave well enough alone, and so basically the Class 158 still stays as is, and I'm still really happy with it. I would have liked to have improved the speaker sound system into that 158. The thing being is that because it's such a glossy green, the body was so tight on the chassis, I didn't really want to start chipping away and damaging possibly the bodywork. So I decided to leave well enough alone. Sometimes I've had this to happen to me in the past, where I foolishly tried to make something better, and in the end I've ended up making it worse, and I've ended up bodging it. So I've just decided just to not take that chance. So I've took the speaker out and I fitted out into another locomotive, which you'll see in a little while in this video. But in the meantime, like I said, she still sounds great, and I'll just fire her up. And to be honest, this was one of those speakers that even though it's got the sound of a standard speaker in it, it still sounds pretty good because the speaker is actually in the fuel tank at the bottom rather than at the top. So it actually goes through the bottom of the locomotive. So it still sounds really, really good. So we'll just send her on her merry way. I should say it's got a TTS sound chip in it. And it's just pulling the network crowd train with a DBSO on it. So now we're talking sheds. So I'm going to spin you around and I'm just going to talk to you about my sheds. And for those of you who don't know, shed is the nickname for the Class 66. So we're just going to spin you around and talk to you briefly about my Class 66s. So I'm just going to bring you into shots, my first 66 to talk about. So this is my Class 66 limited edition, and for those of you who are interested, it was a London Transport Museum, get my teeth in, limited edition locomotive. It's Class 66 diesel, 66721 with a GBRF and its tube map livery, and it's called Harry Beck. That's the nameplates to go on it. And the number for this was 32-979U, and it is produced by Bachmann. Now, this particular 66 has given me a lot of grief. I've had this 66 for a long time, and that's partially what the problem was with it. It's seldomly used, and it'd been sitting in a box because I wanted to put a speaker in it and a sound in it. And I originally got round to buying a TTS chip for it and also got an adapter. And for those of you who don't know, you can get adapters by Bachmann to convert the 21 pin to an 8 pin so you can fit a TTS decoder, and I'll show you that now. It's one of these little thingy bobs. And as you can see, where you plug in the 8 pin decoder. And the number for that, for those of you who are interested, there you go, 36559. And so I had the full intention of putting a TTS chip into this, and I did, and it was working. And when I put it back together and started running it without the sound, I realised it was just whining. It was absolutely whining like a good one, because it'd been sat in the box for so long. I didn't particularly want to take the box off, the body off again, so I thought I'd try and see if it was the axles, and it wasn't the axles, so I lubricated the axles, but that wasn't it, and it was still whining like a good one. I then took the body off and did the drive shafts, thinking that was going to solve the problem. Put it all back together again, and then it was still whining like a good one. It turns out that I had to take the PCB, unscrew the PCB board from the chassis and actually get to the motor itself, and then lubricate that and sort that out as well. So there was a lot of faffing around and fiddling around to try and get this model to work correctly as it should. I think it still has its issues. I have to double check it. I haven't really spent a huge amount of time with it, but I'm debating whether or not one of the wires might have come undone, like on my Class 50 before, and so it's not picking up properly. I'm not sure. because I did put the sound decoder in it, and it was working perfectly fine in the beginning, but then it started cutting out. So I took the decoder out of it and put a standard decoder in it, and it seems to be happier enough with it. And I've transferred that onto my other 66, which I'll show you shortly. She's now seems to be working okay, and hopefully she'll be all right. But I'm not entirely certain. But I'm going to send her around in any case, and we'll bring in the other 66. So our next 66 is one that I've been after for ages, in terms of getting her fitted. Again, it's another one of those where I've had the 66 for a long time. It's one of my faves. It's run on Behringer a lot, and it goes really well with my Class 60 Dolo that I bought. So here it is. It's just coming into view now. So this is 66152 in the DB Schenker livery, and it's a Batman model, and the number for this is 32734, 21 pin. And so yes, I've been running this on Behringer for a long time, and it was, but then when I moved originally to Ringwood South, it just didn't really fit with Ringwood South, so it was just sitting in the box. And I eventually got around to chipping it, and originally it had the decoder that's now in the tube map one, because I did this one first. But then when I was having the problems with the sound on the tube map one, I decided to see if it was the decoder, and I put the sound decoder into my DB Schenker, and it's running fine with it. So so there's obviously some sort of fault with the tube map one. I haven't got to the bottom of it now, but I'm hoping it's resolved, but I'm not sure yet. That needs further investigation. But it's nice to have them both on the layout and running. So we'll see. So yeah, so these two sheds are now, so it goes now with the sheds. There's a couple of sheds knocking about on the layout here. We have my Powerhaul livery 66, and in front of that is my Freightliner P&O Ned Lloyd Atlas 66. So I've got a few sheds knocking about. I did actually sell off a couple of them that just didn't quite really fit with what I was doing, so I sold them on. So I'll just give you a quick demo of this one. So this is basically a standard speaker job, and so this is a standard speaker job, standard TTS job, nothing special about this. Although, like I said, I've had pretty good success with the iPhone speakers, so I might continue at some point to invest in upgrading the speakers in the majority of them. So I'm just going to send her back. And I'll just bring the tube map one back, 66721. I've yet to fit the nameplates on this one. So we've now spoken about skips, sheds, and now we're going to talk about my favourite locomotive and my favourite subject, and the clue is in the t-shirt. And yes, we are going to be talking about Hoovers. Hoovers are the nickname for my favourite class of locomotive, which for many of you will no doubt know it is the Class 50, and in particular the Hornby Class 50, which I have a fair number of them on my layout. And the reason for talking about the Class 50 is I'm going to give you a bit of a sample of the differences between the various sounds that you get out of the Class 50. So without further ado, I'm going to spin you around and we'll talk about the first locomotive. So, bear with me shortly. So my first locomotive 50 that I'm going to talk to you about is this one just coming into shot now. Which is Sir Edward Elgar. Now Sir Edward Elgar is not to be confused with the recent release by Kerno Models. I mean, I've had this particular one for a long time. Now the reason why I'm showing you this one is that this one's got a Hornby TTS decoder in it with standard speaker. In other words, it's straight out the box, plug in and play. And so I'll give you a quick listen of it, and then you can sort of hear it. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to just prime it. So, by all accounts, this particular chip is a really good chip, including myself. I did a review on it some time ago, and I actually love this chip. And I just give it a little run around the layout so you can actually see it whizzing around. And I'm just going to zoom you out a little bit. So I'm going to send it on a merry way. So that's the horns. Just so you can hear it, I'm just going to send it around. And she sounds really good, and I'm really impressed with this particular 50. She'll be back round shortly. So she'll just be with us very shortly. And here she comes. So there she is. And for all intensive purposes, the Hornby TTS chip sounds really good. And in fact, that is the majority of chips that I have on my 50s are mainly TTS chips. However, like I have touched on before, I do have some by Kevin over at DCC Coastal. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove Sir Edward Elgar off the layout, and so you can hear the DCC Coastal chip. So off she trots. So here is my next 50 to show you, which is Defiance. Now, Defiance is a wonderful locomotive. I love this livery on it, but obviously she now carries the GBRF one, as does Sir Bodelga. Now, the reason why I'm showing you these 50s, because it's not because you haven't seen them before, because you have. But what I wanted to show you is that the next locomotive will actually demonstrate the reason why I'm doing this bit on the Class 50s. So let me just let you have a listen of Kevin's DCC Coastal DCC sound chip. Now, like I've said before, I have done a review on this and gone through it all. So for those of you interested, there is a video out there on the full functions of the DCC Coastal sound chip, or Coastal DCC, I should say, by Kevin. It's there on my video list for those of you that are interested. And the reason why I'm showing you this is I did briefly mention before that I took a speaker out of my 67, which was a good speaker. It was a Zimmo speaker, and it was a 60 by 40 speaker, and the intention was to put it into 158, like I was just saying. But because I decided against it, I was wondering where to fit this speaker in, and because I love the sound of the 50 on this chip, the Coastal DCC chip, I decided to put that speaker, the Zimmo speaker, into one of these 50s. This 50, Defiance, has got the standard speaker in it. So this is the speaker you get with the Coastal DCC sound chip, which is the speaker that's in that 50 at the moment. And my other 50 has got the upgraded Zimmo speaker. So I wanted to show you the difference. Now, these sounds that you're hearing, like the compressor, is completely random. And it has completely random noises and all the rest of it, which is absolutely brilliant. Also another thing that this has over the TTS chip is it has independent horns, which I like. So it's completely independent. So I really like that. It also has an inertia function, which is F9, which basically means that you can choose between just the standard braking that you do with the DCC function, with the settings, and then you can also switch it to analog type braking, where if you shut it down, you press the F9, the train just shuts down completely, and you don't have to worry about the inertia of the train just carrying on. So basically, if you're going up to a terminus station, you're going up to buffers and you're going a bit too fast, and you switch it to 0 with the CV functions, it might not decelerate in time before hitting the buffers. But if you press the F9, then it's almost treated like an analog controller, and it will just shut down straight away. Now, you do have the option to turn off the compressor, so you can actually do it off, on and on manually, rather than automatically like it's doing. So let's just send her on our merry way. Oh, you gotta love that sound. Now, that always puts a smile on my face, as you could hear. I'm just laughing away and giggling away. The sound just sounds absolutely awesome with that standard speaker, which is just about coming into view. So I'll just sort of hear her coasting along. So we're just oh my lordy, that just sounds epic. Yeah, what can I say? So you can hear how good it sounds, and I just think it's like really awesome. Now I'm going to demonstrate the braking feature with this 50. So I'm going to press the F9. So it's not, and you'll see how quick it stops. Oh, this is actually it's stopping on its own with the CV. So that's the deceleration on the side. So I'm going to spin it around again so I can demonstrate to you the braking function of this. I just think it sounds so awesome. So I'm just waiting for it to go on so I can try and finally demonstrate the braking feature, the inertia function of this. So it's coming quite quickly now. So that's me just pressing the F9 and that just automatically just shuts it down. So that's, whereas if it was under the CV braking, it would still probably carry on for a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to park this one up and I'm going to show you the one with the Zimo speaker, and you'll definitely hear the difference, and you just need to pump up the volume and enjoy. So I'm just going to park this one up. And off she goes. So just coming into view now is the lucky recipient of the speaker. And here it comes now. And here it is. There you go. See? Getting all... That's not a bit of OCD there. That's just because of when I put the body back. Okay, so this is Thunderer 50028, and the reason why I have chosen Thunderer to have the speaker is because Thunderer still runs around today in this current colour scheme, albeit with the Hanson rail markings on it. Is basically a sticker, which I don't particularly like. I wish I kind of left it like this, but obviously they need to kind of promote their company, I guess. I think it's based in Leicester, to be honest, and it still runs around today doing network rail stuff, stop movements, so it tends to do a lot of that kind of thing. And that's why I decided to put the speaker on this one, because it still fits in well. Although it's a classic locomotive, it still fits in well with the modern scene. So I'm going to basically start her up, and you'll hear automatically the difference between this standard speaker and the Zimo speaker that's in that locomotive. Now at the end of this clip, I will show you a couple of pictures of the actual speaker itself and how it's fitted on the 50, just so you can see. And then after we'll move on to the final part, which is the layout update. But I just want you to turn up the volume and enjoy, because I think you really will. So let's just fire her up. Oh my God. Oh lordy, lordy, lordy. She just sounds like she ought to sound. If you love a Class 50, I don't think you'll be disappointed with this. It's just so much better It is a Zimmo speaker in it. It's a 60 by 40, I think it is, 6 by 4, whatever it is. And it's basically exactly the same size as this, but a much better speaker. It is more expensive, and I've had this speaker before the craze of the iPhones came out, before everyone knew about the iPhones speakers. So I bought this one, and just hear the clarity. And it just sounds great. So we're gonna crank it up so you can hear it. So enjoy. Oh, without fail every time. Oh, you just hear the rumbling of that 50 go. Now, was it worth changing the speaker or what? Oh my lordy, that just sounds absolutely awesome. And when it comes around, we'll crank it up again so you can hear it. I'm going to shut my mouth now. Ready? You can listen to that all day long. Well, I could anyway. I know people love the Deltics, and people have their favourite locomotives, but this is definitely my favourite. And there she is. So, this is my newly improved Class 50 with the Zimmo speaker with Coastal DCC sounds, and I have to say, like I've said before, I highly recommend Kevin over at Coastal DCC. He's a really nice guy. The sound chip prices are absolutely really fantastic prices compared to some of the others. I mean, this particular sound chip is sub £100, which is pretty good considering that these days a lot of chips are over the £100, 115, 120, that kind of mark. This is sub 100, just under. I think it's about 95 or something like that. When I bought this, it was 93, because I've had this a little while now. I think it's about 93 or 98 now. I did ask him about it not so long ago, and it still sounds epic. But that is, I should say, with the standard speaker. I did actually buy the Zimmo speaker from Kevin, so if you want it with the particular speaker that's in this particular locomotive, then you can actually ask him for that. So before we go on to the next part, let me just give you one more thrash. So on this final part of my layout, well, running stock and layout update, we're now going to talk about the actual layout itself. Now at this point, I'd like to thank Peter Shaw, because a few weeks ago he put up a video, and it kind of showed an overview of his layout, and that kind of gave me a bit of inspiration as to what to do with mine. Because if I just show you, just pan it round, I'll show you what I mean. So this is my layout in its entirety right here, and it's basically a 2-circuit oval with a third line here where the network rail train is, which is currently being used as a siding. Now recently I've extended it out to here to create a fill yard. But what I've done, thanks to Peter, is I've now created this drop down section. What I'm going to do is put a board, and that will kind of act as a door to hide the shelf unit behind. And it's still on wheels. This whole section is still mounted on wheels, so it can still be removed to create the bigger space should it be required. And it also raises up. So I'm going to show you that shortly. So at the moment, this is the extension. I haven't built the legs yet, which is why it's kind of balanced on the tripod at the moment. And so this offers me a bit of a flexibility to have a bit of a kickback loop, where it will just sort of go all the way around, come back round, and then back, and kind of give it this kind of a bit of a kidney shape, as it were, which is very similar to what he had, and it just gives me that bit of extra distance on the layout, as opposed to just having 2 circuit ovals. So it'd be nice just to be able to bring the track back round and actually just have that bit of extra length. And then wondering whether or not to somehow connect this bit down to this bit to see if I can still put the fill yard underneath, and so I can still use this bit as a scenic bit, but I'm not sure yet. I haven't got the top board for it yet because there's a bit of a delay, because Homebase don't do the board, the MDF board, the 9mm MDF board in 8x4 sheets, but they do provide a cutting service, which I need. But I think B&Q and Wickes probably do provide a board, but they don't provide a cutting service. And I don't want to end up buying individual pieces of board because it ends up working out a lot more expensive. So I'm just going to have to hang fire for a few weeks, which isn't a big deal. And once they get the board in, I can then buy it and then fit it, and then hopefully we'll start to be able to have a sort of bigger space to play with. So that concludes the end of the video, and my apologies that it is in quite a long video today, but then again there was a lot to talk about and a lot to get through. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and until the next time, it's going to be goodbye from Midenhall and Vollmer. So goodbye.